plenary session is Dr. Saba Shuja, Manager ECD at UNICEF. Dr. Saba comes with 15 years of experience in program development, implementation, management, and coordination in both development and humanitarian contexts. She has worked with various national and international organizations on MNCH, HIV/AIDS, TB, child labor, and nutrition. She will be speaking about the science behind early childhood development and the actions that work to promote ECD.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon. Madam, aapki ijazat se, shall I start my presentation? So we've been part of our opening session. A lot has already been said about early childhood development. This plenary is focusing around why we need to invest on early childhood development. So what we'll be doing, we'll be discussing on early childhood development and some reflections on the benefits and advantages in investing early childhood development and what are the key interventions which we must need to take care while we are planning for early childhood development. As Jalal Saab already mentioned that ECD and ECE, misnomer often. So I was thinking to start to reiterate ourselves and to reflect again that when we talk about ECD, what we are trying to say, what is our meaning? Is it just early learning or is it beyond that? So let's take a look on this slide. So early childhood development is basically a maturation process of a child that actually result in a very progressive manner around physical, motor, cognitive, linguistic, socio-emotional, and self-regulation skills. Obviously, it's a process. Ultimately, it's an outcome. So that means that there are so many sectors which they can play its role from the beginning and around these all dimensions which are written. How we can distinct the phases which are important, in this journey of our children. So there are clearly three distinct phases. One starts from conception. A lot have already been said by other speakers during our opening session, how maternal nutrition, maternal health and consumption, even so much so, preconception phase is important. So hence, from conception to birth, very distinct, what we need to do. And then from birth to 3 years, that's usually we used to say 1,000 days plus. And then preschool and pre-primary, which offers, focusing on 3 to 8 years children. So, moving ahead, what is actually early childhood development? It is both. It is an outcome and it is a process. How it is an outcome? What we want to develop our child with his or her full potential. How? Should be physically healthy, mentally alert, emotionally sound, socially competent and ready to learn. That means that all sectors, whether it be health, education, nutrition, child protection, you name it, they are there to contribute. And it's a process between all these which I've just mentioned in order to attain an outcome. Now, development has to occur somewhere. Where it is happening? It is occurring as a result of interaction between the environment and the child. Where actually this environment would come from? A healthy and stable environment actually helps brain development. And it helps in stimulating neuron connections to support caring of child with adequate nutrition and protection. What is the key aspect of environment? This is a very key because this is a thing which actually accelerates the result. Every sectors would be contributing into their particular interventions. But how that result, whether it be health intervention, nutrition, education, would actually enhance and accelerate result is the nurturing care. That's the key of early childhood development. And where it is actually coming from? Mainly it is coming from parents. So often you might have hearing parenting programs globally, regionally, even in Pakistan, thanks to Ministry of Planning Development Special Initiative, with government lead. There are, although it's minimal in terms of geographical presence, but then there are parenting programs. So just wanted to reflect that Development has to happen in certain environment, and parenting accelerate those results. Now, coming back, why investing in young children development? Why we all are here? Why we are discussing this? Number one, Government of Pakistan has rectified so many commitments. One of them is SDG. And without focusing on early childhood development, I'm afraid, in fact, most of us would be, of the same opinion that we might not lead our, objective or chief objective on SDG. So hence, ECD is the foundation for the SDG. Above and all, development is a child right. And if we are committed to provide child right and to support child right, we have to invest on early childhood development. Going back to the statistics, there are researches, there are studies which are telling us that around 43% of our children globally under the age of 5 are at developmental risk. Let me tell you Pakistan statistics, which is not mentioning here. This is 43% of global. For Pakistan, unfortunately, is more than 50%. So that means that investment for us is, even more required when it comes to our children for the developmental perspective. Neuroscience already identified that it's the essential opportunity to shape the brain and its development and its function for our children, because these children would be, ultimately adults and contributing not only to the individual, not only to the community, but to the nation and in fact globally as well. There are economic evidences also available that how ECD is contributing in the right investment. So $1 investment, it is statistically, economically, evident that it would give us 13 point of investment return. Above and all, adult learning by almost 25%. So it's a lifelong benefit. It's not about child, it's about whole life. Early years are important for a lifelong health and well-being. Why? Because these are those years. Why we are kept talking about 0 to 8, 0 to 8? Because these are the time period where developmental of core immune functions are happening, metabolic regulations are built and developed, and then there are other physiological systems which are working. So that means if we have to contribute and we want to get result, we definitely need to invest into the early years. This is just a glimpse. I won't go into the detail, but just want to share that. I just want to share that look to brains. We have seen the famous picture of stunting, so many times. But this is again, just to reiterate that the first few years of life, where most of the neural connections are happening. In fact, millions of neural connections are happening every second. So whatever we are going to give to that child would contribute, negative, positive, in terms of environment, in terms of services. So this is just to tell you, and I'm sure you can appreciate and you can select the best one out of those two pictures. And moving ahead, this is already shared by our colleague from headquarters, and we love these messages to share again and again for having a memory and understanding that why early childhood development. It's a foundation for lifelong learning, for behaviors and the capacities and capabilities of that child being an adult and responsive. It is happening between genes and environment. It is not nurturing versus nature. It is nature and nurturing. So nature is there, and we need to support our contribution for nurturing. Early intervention is the answer. Toxic stress during early childhood has a lifelong impact. We have done a study. It's not yet, finalized, but we have identified how these negative stress and toxic stress is actually contributing to the mental health of the child and as well as mother during floods. So this is very small, contribution I wanted to share. Obviously, there are so many studies available globally, regionally to certify or rectify this. Message 4, brain complexity, no homogeneous, it is interconnected, so we need to have many contribution and we need to work together. whether it be health, whether it be nutrition, whether it be education. It requires multi-sectoral approach in a nutshell. And nourishing mind is important. No matter what we do in nutrition, if there is some missing component of stimulation, we might miss our goal. So this is a key message. I've already shared the investment argument. This is return to individual, that we have almost 25% adult earning returns if we properly invest and work for early childhood development program. And of course, investing on those early childhood development would benefit children and in turn the nation. That support we would be, inshallah, we still have, but we are hoping more to have skilled, educated and healthy workforce for Pakistan. This is a slide which is close to our heart, that early investment is the success. So the early investment would give us 13% result. The more you delay, the more you lose the game. Affordability of service. We don't need to think that this is something new we are bringing in, not at all. This is an ECD program that barely costs 0.50 per capita per year. Why is it so? Because early childhood interventions is easily be integrated into existing health, nutrition, and whatever service delivery platform we do have. We don't need to invent a program. We have a system. The need of the time is that how cleverly and smartly we can identify the gap areas into respective services and chip in. And this is evidence that it's just merely cost us 0.5 per capita, it's dollar by the way, intervention. What is needed to promote children optimal development? The famous diagram, the beautiful diagram, the beautiful nurturing care framework. Remember we talked about the environment. So the environment, the key word is nurturing. That means nurturing should come from somewhere. So that's the framework which is actually giving all of us a guidance that how we can move ahead. What are the key components? It's good health, it's adequate nutrition, it's opportunity and early learning, safety and security, responsive caregiving, and what layers we need. Enabling policies, we are already working on ECD policy framework, madam, tools, and as well as index, Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiative taking lead. Hopefully soon we will have the whole policy instrument available with us to give us a guidance. Supportive services, there are so many engagement with the ministries to provide support. And caregiver capacities, I've talked about parenting package, so that's also an initiative. So what is the input and what is the outcome? So nurturing care, moving ahead, is the input. If we'll give this input, the ultimate outcome would be early childhood development. I won't go into the detail, we already know the interventions, but just to reiterate, if we would like to support nurturing care, we need to invest in health, nutrition, safety security, responsive caregiving, and early learning. There are lists available. The things are already going on. We need to see how we can work to improve early childhood development perspective. How we can reach to those interventions. 5 strategic actions with that a country like Pakistan should think about, and already things are happening. Lead and invest. Focus on families and their communities. Strengthen existing services. Monitor progress and scale up and innovate wherever it is possible. There are so many approaches which is actually giving us a guidance. We have multi-level approaches. Enabling environment approach, strengthening workforce capacities, raising level of awareness, gender norms and socialization is an important approach. Above and all, and the most important is empowering parents and communities to encourage their participation on this. So with this, I would like to end my presentation. Thank you very much for patiently listening to me. Thank you very much.